Hi guys, and welcome back to the Essen Studio. Today we will be talking about this codex, specifically Vanilla Space Marines. So we've got two guests today. We've got Shaggy, we've got Big Will, both Space Marine players like myself. This is all that we've been playing, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
We've been playing Black Templars a lot, and Shaggy plays both Ultramarines and Imperial Guard, but at the moment
91 games into Space Marines.
Yes, exactly. You've been playing
okay.
a lot of Space Marines. So today's chat is basically going to be about where we think, where we think Space Marines are at the moment. Our worries, mostly because I have a lot of worries about where we're going. Yeah, where we're going, and basically we're also going to talk about the good things about the codex still, because we're not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I don't want people raging on the comments, but they are still very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Still great.
exactly. We will be talking a lot about, I think, more negatives than positives today, but
Probably.
I just want to make sure that we still know that we're in a very good place compared to other.
It's just a whinge. It's okay. It's just a little bit of a whinge.
So, first of all, we're going to talk a bit about where competitive play is at the moment with Space Marines.
Okay.
We've actually seen a decrease in rankings. Obviously, William is a bit more involved in rankings, and you like to see where we stand. And what's the win rate at the moment?
So currently across the ITC battle apps and the WTC, I'm pretty sure Space Marines still around 44%.
Okay, which is pretty low compared to Drakari, which is 70.
They're at 66 now.
66.
Even at 66%, I think that's still insanely high.
Yeah,
I mean, talking from gaming experience in general, just gaming. Most companies want to go for a 50-50 win rates.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're around 50, you're in a decent place. Lower than that, you need a boost. Higher than that, you need a bit of a nerf.
Yes.
But I think,
The thing obviously with 40k is that it's incredibly difficult to balance as a game system. I saw there was an argument a while back in the competitive 40k Facebook group comparing it to chess. You can't compare this to chess because although there is a player that goes first and a player that goes second, there are so many small variables into
in between.
Exactly. You got obscuring. You got armies that just can't be shot at on the first turn. You got armies that are very good on the first turn. So all these things get taken into account, obviously, when looking at these win rates, because it can't. It will. I don't think this game will ever be a clear 50-50 win rates or loss. Because
I agree.
Yeah. And like you mentioned at the beginning, we're mostly going to go, or we are going to talk about Vanilla Marine. So basically, the chapters that are in the book, and obviously the normal chapters like the Ultramarines, the Crimson Fists. We're not going to touch Blood Angels, Space Wolves, and Dark Angels at the moment. I'll probably have another sit down with some other players that are playing, because for me, even though they are still a supplement, they are a complete different army, especially if we go into Dark Angels, where they have their Raven Wing, they have the Death Wing, and they are performing. I think they're the best supplement at the moment, performing competitively.
I'm pretty sure they are.
I mean, if you get your own objectives, I think you don't count.
Yes, exactly. For their secondary. So, first of all, we're going to talk a bit about the good stuff at the moment, still going, the good stuff that is still in the codex, and obviously the bad stuff. So, personally, for me, what I'm seeing at the moment is that lists are the book has 100 units in it, and at the moment, all we're seeing is the same units in play. We're seeing Eradicators. We're seeing Contemptors with Volkites.
We're seeing Vanguard vets as well.
We're seeing Vanguard vets. Everybody with Vanguard veterans, even though the cost went up in both with jetpacks and both storm shields as well. But yeah, the builds are all the same, and it's a really big shame because the codex is so big.
There's a lot of
very nice units. But why, personally, why do you think it is that we just have these certain builds, especially? I'm mostly talking about Iron Hands at the moment, and we know that they're probably the best supplement at the moment.
I think I know why.
Yes,
because Iron Hands get a boost from taking dreadnoughts. They can have feel no pains on their dreadnoughts, right? Yeah. What's the best unit right now that you can get? Dreadnoughts. Yeah. Why? The -1 damage is fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of them get invols or feel no pains.
Yeah, they also.
So they will boost up on that.
Granted, what I have been seeing a lot of people doing actually is that they're running Iron Hand successes
Yeah.
So they're getting access to the stratagems, like the increased feel no pain.
Yeah.
But they're also taking things like Whirlwind of Rage and the Bolter one. So the additional hits in close combat and in shooting.
Yes.
Bolter Fusillade, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Bolter Fusillade.
Which is fantastic.
Explode.
Exactly.
Think, right?
So what they're doing is that they're taking two things that make them very well rounded, both in combat and in shooting, and then also buffing that with the fact that they like to run heavy dreadnought lists, which is what Contempt with Volkites is what people are running, and they're giving them 5+ feel no pains if they want to.
And the other thing is that all these units have core, so they're tough units, toughness 7, multiple wounds, feel no pains, invulns, and they're core. So they get loads of rerolls and strats.
Their strats are still really, really good, and their super doctrine is probably still the best. No penalty for moving heavy weapons in the heavy doctrine, and reroll 1s, I believe. So we're seeing a lot of. Let's talk a bit about Firstborn Marines. So personally for me, Primaris all the way at the moment, but there is still a lot of Firstborn units that are very, very good at the moment. We see the Grav Devastators coming down in drop pods. So you're actually seeing them a lot in Iron Hands as well, because they drop pods. They ignore the -1 in turn 1, and I believe they reroll 1s. And Grav is very good at the moment. A lot of people are putting like 3 melters in a unit, coupled in with 1 Grav and a Cherub. So basically the melters fire at something, and then the 4 shots or the 3 shots from the Grav becomes double because the Cherub will shoot again. So suddenly you're wiping out a unit of 5 intercessors plus bringing something big down at the same time. So let's talk a bit about Firstborn just really quickly. Are you guys using any Firstborn units?
I'm using a ton of them.
Yes.
Your army's compromised.
Let's talk a bit about Black Templars, because I think apart from Iron Hands, I believe Black Templars are doing really well at the moment. Yeah, especially
and that's without their supplements.
Yeah, it's all down to I actually believe it's all down to one stratagem, right?
Which is called Devout Push.
Devout Push.
The best stratagem in the game. I don't want to hear anything about transhuman. I don't want to hear about anything else. Yeah, it's all about.
Do you want to quickly, more or less, explain to people what that is?
It's essentially a 1 CP. You get to choose a unit, and in the start of the fight phase, and you get to pile that unit in 3 inches. And I'm pretty sure until the end of the turn you get to consolidate 6 inches as well. What this means essentially is that this allows you to rearrange the board pretty much in a bunch of scenarios. You can use it to fall back and then pile yourself back into combats, which is ridiculous because you still do get to swing still, but it lets you pull back, shoot at the target if you want to, and then straight after that just get back into combat. It lets you move yourself onto objectives from behind walls, because as long as you just end closer
with objective secured, maybe there's an enemy unit that doesn't have objective secured, and suddenly whoop, I'm on the objective now.
It becomes ridiculous when you factor in Canticle of Hate. Canticle of Hate adds another 3 to your pile-in, so now you're getting a 3 6-inch move.
Yeah.
If you happen to kill whatever you're in combat with, you get another 6-inch consolidation on top of that.
Yeah.
So you're just moving you could potentially move 12 across the board for fun.
It's crazy.
It's insane. It's basically there's a player called Innes Wilson, known for playing melee Space Marines, mainly White Scars, but he started taking up Black Templars recently, just because he's realized how much utility he's got with them.
Yeah.
He said there was a podcast that he did, or an interview with a YouTube channel called Implausible Nature, which is a Black Templar specific competitive channel. Yeah. And he said that, he goes, if I start the game with 10 CP, 9 of that wants to be for Devout Push.
I can imagine that. I can imagine. Between that and transhuman, that's all you need, right?
Well, that's the thing. If you're not even taking Primaris, you're not going to transhuman. So you're not even tempted to use it.
The list still have like the normal eradicators and all this, but
his list was running 1 unit of 4 eradicators, I think it was. So his only real Primaris, transhuman target was that. In my list, I run 2 units of 3, and I changed a couple of the things up.
Okay.
But yeah, you have some Primaris stuff still in there, because obviously we're not going to deny that they are insanely good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just we also get access to really cheap troop squads. A tactical Marine squad is 90 points.
Yeah.
But we can get Crusader squads for 75 points.
For basically the same.
So essentially, it just means that we only have to spend 225 points on our troop choices, which gives us more flexibility with.
Yeah, you get some extra points on other
slots
stuff.
that we get.
Perfect. Are you using? You're not using any Firstborn. I'm not using any Firstborn.
I'll be honest.
You're using Vanguard.
This
guy's using Vanguard.
but for my Blood Angels, not my Criminal
Oh, right.
Fists.
Okay, sorry.
Which we're not talking about.
Well, we're not talking about.
I do want to get a unit of Vanguard into my army.
Everybody's using them, and I
think I see the reason why.
Yeah.
Because they're very they've got a lot of utility. I mean, in my army, I use the Inceptors to come in and take a objective or to get me data Octaries. So I get that. Yeah. So I get that. Well, why not up the points? I think it's by like 20 points.
Yeah.
I can get a unit of Vanguard to do the same, and now I've got a unit that is very survivable and very killy.
Yeah.
While the Inceptors and very fast. While the Inceptors are okay.
Yeah.
But these are 5 guys with 2 wounds each, which can have storm shields and hammers and claws and come on, there's a lot of utility. We can see why they're being used.
And they've like you said, they've been already upped in points with an FAQ, and they're still very good. I think it all comes like I'm just going to briefly go into this very quickly. This edition, it's all about board control, and personally for me, Marines do like to stay back and shoot. There's very limited units that can actually go up and survive. Like we do have the Outriders now and stuff like that, but they don't have an invulnerable save. If there's no librarian close to them, they don't have an invulnerable save. So even if they move up, they normally die very early on. And when you talk about things like Drukhari, where you have like Venoms and Raiders that move the same speed as them, but at the same time do have an invulnerable, do have a -1 to hit, do have a good gun on them. So that's the difference. I personally think that one of the nerfs, one of the bad things about Marines at the moment is board control. We do have options for them, like drop pods and stuff, but once they come down and do what they do, they're normally not there the next turn.
And I think the point to make there is that we're talking vanilla, because obviously you've got other ways to, like Black Templars, very good in combat, but you know,
but back to movement again.
It's all about movement. It's a movement and melee based meta right now.
It really is that way. It happens a lot with my Ultramarines. I've gone from a very shooty static army where now I suffer with them. Because I'm very static. I mean, everyone sees the battle reports. I do castle up a lot. I mean, that's what I do, and it's been hurting. I mean, I've gone from a win rate of like 75 to 80%. Down to 66.
We know.
I've been constantly losing.
And we know we see it on ITC events. Like you hardly see any Marines winning, and if you see them winning, it's probably Iron Hands or Black Templar. You do not see any Ultramarines winning. You certainly don't see any Imperial Fists winning. And talking about Imperial Fists, we're quickly going to go into the supplements and what happened with the supplements. So something that I wanted to touch base on was that Marines were very, 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 very good before this codex, the codex prior to the one we have now. They were ridiculously good. It got to a point where it was silly. Like I was playing and I felt silly to play, and it wasn't nice. Like I know there's people out there who enjoyed it, but you enjoyed it for the first couple of games. But after a while, it was like, especially for like battle reports. Like I really needed to see what we were facing, because the games were ending in like turn 1 or 2. That crazy, right?
I mean, Gilliman was overpowered
everything. It was just
let's not forget the star of the 8th edition Space Marine show, which were aggressors. Because they got essentially, I wouldn't even call it a nerf. I think they've just been put where they should be, and even then they're still good.
They are still
but
very,
before
very
good. They would just be so ridiculous. I'll never forget. I played a game with Jamie and a horde of orcs, and he killed 3 aggressors or 2 aggressors, I think it was, and I just used the Astartes banner, brought 2 back, and shot an orc unit and killed like 13 orcs.
I did it too. I did it to him, and I actually killed a mob of 30 of them with 6 aggressors in Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly, and that's just ridiculous.
And it was crazy, because at the same time that we had that codex, we also had the old mission style, which basically no one played it. It was basically kill as much as you can and you would win the game. So we were castling up. Everything had rerolls. Everything was rerolling once. Because core units didn't exist. We had banners that would roll a 3-up instead of a 4-up, and you would be able to shoot again once you re-rolled everything for that as well. It was crazy. And then we had the supplements, which made it even worse. And we're going to quickly skip into the next codex. Codex type, which wasn't expected, because we had just had a new codex, and then we had the new one. But it was a good step. It was something that was needed, and we were still strong. But after that, we've seen a couple of FAQs come out. We've seen a couple of erratas come out, points going up. And that's when I've seen Space Marines dipping a bit. So do you think, both of you, do you think that that extra points increases and those extra FAQs were not needed? Like, personally, I don't think I needed it. I'm after you guys talk, I'm going to talk about the Imperial Fists and Crimson Fists and how hard of a hit we got,
and
right?
This is why we're here.
And this is why we're here, yeah. So let's start with William.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're in a position now where it was too much, the nerf was too much, and we're seeing it? Like, there's only like 4 or 5 new codexes come out. We're already seeing that most of them, if not all, are better than Marines. Comment below if you think I'm wrong. And there's still so many codexes to come out before we probably see another Space Marine codex come out. And that's the scary thing. We're not seeing ourselves, apart from Iron Hands and Black Templars again, we're not seeing us winning events. And at the same time, we're slowly creeping down and down. And there's so many codexes coming out that it's a bit scary. So do you think that we should have just stayed with what the codex was and not have those extra point increases? Another thing I want to touch base on before is we also have to implement the Forge World rules that came in at the same time.
You're right, yeah.
So what do you think?
Okay, so I think the codex release was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because it stopped Marines from essentially just being like that army. It was like, oh, you're playing Marines. I guess I'm just going to lose because you couldn't do anything about them. So I thought the codex was a good change. The only change I'm not a fan of was Centurions. I'll probably mention that later on again because I think Centurions are really cool.
Yeah.
They don't have core though.
Yeah.
So they essentially just don't benefit from anything in the army. But the codex was great. It came out. People were still obviously complaining because people will always complain. But for me personally, I saw that my games became more enjoyable.
Yes,
I'd still win games,
exactly.
fine, but there was always a chance now that I could lose because the army wasn't just I've won.
Yeah.
So then the main thing for me was the FAQ that increased the storm shields and the jump packs, I think it was, for the van vets. So I had a list that I was going to be running, which was going to be 20 van vets. That I had to scrap it obviously because it got to the point now where it was too expensive to run that. So I think that for me is the only thing that's really pushed Marines over the edge of not really being super viable. I think before that first FAQ, which we were talking about this earlier, that FAQ came before a lot of the codex releases come out.
Yes.
You know, so they've increased the points again for a unit which we don't really know how it's going to stack up against the remaining codexes that still haven't come out.
Yeah.
I think that for me is the one thing that's kind of pushed Marines slightly downwards into what I think is now that negative win rate, where now a lot of our units that were previously making us good, like against Drukhari, against Admech and stuff like that, now those things are more expensive, so there's less incentive to take those. So that is slightly unfortunate. Now I don't use any Forge World in my army really, so I won't really touch upon that. All I know is that the Relic Contemptors with Volkites are essentially a go-to in every single Marine army now.
We're just going to wait for them to get FAQ'd as well because they're far too cheap at the moment. Like I think they're 5 points extra for the Volkite, for the big Volkites. They're 5 points each. And I'm quickly going to go into there. Talking about Volkites, for those of you who don't play competitively, and you've probably seen a lot of Volkites on the table on photos, and people are looking for Volkites because Forge World don't have any at the moment. It's basically there because they're very, very good against Drukhari, which are the big boys at the moment.
They're fantastic against everything.
Drukhari have everything has an invulnerable save, so they're very good at killing those units. They go straight through. They don't have an AP, but everything in Drukhari normally has a 4-up save. So they're very good against Drukhari. That's why we're seeing them a lot.
And they've got a lot of range.
And they've got a crazy range. And they're still core, which, don't get me wrong, I love that they're core, but they're Relic Contemptors. I don't understand why that has core and things like Centurions don't.
Yeah, we won't be seeing that for long.
Exactly. So, Shaggy, let's talk a bit about you. You do use a bit of more Forge Worlds. I'll end up complaining about Forge Worlds more after you. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think we got nerfed a bit too much?
I think we did at the time. We didn't get nerfed enough. I think it was a case where, you know, the codex came out. Like Will says, it was a very good codex. I got a bit hit with Gilliman not being able to use transhuman anymore and things like that. But you know, you move on. Yeah. But at the time, it was good codex, good FAQ. The points were needed because going up against other people, it was also a win anyway. So the problem came when all the other codexes have now started coming out, and
it was
we
a bit
haven't
too
been
early,
touched.
right? It was a bit too early because
I think they
we got the
jumped
nerfs before. Well,
no, the
got...
nerfs shouldn't have come out if they were going to be coming out this quickly. We shouldn't have been nerfed.
Yeah,
for example, they've taken away deep striking of movement benefit for Ultramarines. So if I deep strike heavy weapons, they still don't benefit from sitting still.
Yeah.
Why? They should. But anyway, fine. But the reason is because people were bringing in heavy weapons on turn 2.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But now you've got so many great codexes. Maybe those type of nerfs weren't really necessary.
Yeah.
So
I'm just a bit scared. I'm not scared. It's a worry because I believe that Space Marines should be the brackets of all the armies. So you balance it out with Space Marines, and I see that we are already dipping quite a lot down, and there's so much still to come. And I'm quite sure we're not going to have a third codex before other armies don't have a second, right? So I'm now talking about that nerfs wise, like. Remember when we could have the doctrine and leave the doctrine,
which was ridiculous,
ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And I was happy that you could only have it for a certain terms.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I don't see, and we're going to go straight on to Imperial Fists, Crimson Fists now, is that things like Ultramarines want to be on the tactical doctrine. They have it for 2 turns. Black Templars want to be on the assault doctrine. They can have it for 3 turns. But things like Crimson Fists or Imperial Fists, only the super doctrine is in the heavy doctrine, and I can only have it for 1 turn. That's already enough for me, because obviously my super doctrine is 1 for your turn, whilst yours can be for much more. Then what else did we get? Then we got the bolter stuff. Then we got what? The bolter nerf. No, then the biggest hit after that was that Imperial Fists are already out the picture, and then suddenly out of the blue an FAQ comes out where only strength 7 or more can benefit from the super doctrine, and I'm like, so we're already out the picture. We're only having it for 1 turn. We've now got obscuring on the table for terrain, so it's very easy to hide. And suddenly it's now autocannons or higher strength weapons which can get it. We don't get it on the bolters, and for me it was a bit like, I've even lost more flavor now.
I remember I played against a player in Warhammer World. He took Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
He had the dreadnoughts with the bolters and just annihilated my guard like that.
Yeah. Heavy bolters, and this heavy bolters is such an iconic Imperial Fist gun as well, and it was like, we're just getting it for 1 turn. Was it needed to actually do that? Because honestly, as from turn 2, it doesn't matter what strength your weapon is. You have to pay 2 points to go on to the doctrine again.
Well, that's the thing. And this is where it comes for balancing, because for Imperial Fists, it's 2 points. Well, for me, it's only 1 point.
Exactly.
And I can go into any doctrine I want.
Don't let me go into strats, because personally, when you compare it to strats like Black Templars and Ultramarines and Salamanders and Iron Hands, they all have amazing strats. And then you go back to Imperial Fist. You probably have Imperial Fist and Crimson Fist crying right now.
They're hugging
in the computer. Okay. You know, it's okay. You know, we don't have any strats. There's only a couple good strats, which you hardly use. And the only good one is basically +1 to wound when you're shooting at a vehicle. And that costs 2 CP. While Salamanders, for 1 CP, all of the guns of the unit can fire into whatever. It doesn't have to be a vehicle, and they get +1 to wound. So it's like really unbalanced at the moment. Yeah. So I think I'm the one that's a bit more sad at the moment and hurt, because I feel that I've got the biggest nerf at the moment.
I'll be honest. Ultramarines in the 8th edition codex, they kind of like stayed there, like under the radar. They want 2 OP. They want bad. And in this one as well, they're not OP, they're not bad, they're kind of like flying in the middle.
Yeah.
So what helps us is our characters a lot.
Yeah.
We still have very good characters, and that helps buff the unit. Stratagems help us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we're okay. We're not great, we're okay.
Yeah.
While some other armies have suffering, other armies are flourishing.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
like Raven Guard went from amazing.
Yeah, Raven Guard went from being insanely
good to like no one's using them.
Yeah, exactly.
When's the last time you've seen a Raven Guard Barryport, a Raven Guard army on the table, winning a tournament, seeing a good list?
I don't even see people
like they
them.
don't exist anymore. And that's the scary bit, that there's just certain armies which are doing well, and there's so much still more coming.
Yeah, that's
so much still more coming. Yeah,
which is great. Which is great that we're seeing a lot of codexes come out very quickly. But you know, we're not seeing the balance changes as they're coming out. So nothing is being looked at, nothing is being adjusted for this brand new codex that is fantastic. Okay, so let's make the Marines a little bit better.
That's not gonna happen. You just have to now wait for your turn, and it's a long way around. But I've just quickly seen the Leviathans. Leviathans were scarily broken. They were actually broken, and then they got hit with a nerf. And personally, again, they've gone way overboard. They removed the toughness, they removed the ballistic skill, they took the core, the invalid. The invalid in combat was a 4-up before, now it's back at a 5-up. Yes, it's cheaper, but it should
be a lot cheaper.
You know, it should not a lot cheaper. It should still be the same price, but now you're paying a CP to put one in, lower ballistic skill, lower everything is lowered, and now it's like you're not seeing them anymore unless you're Iron Hands.
I accept the lower ballistic skill because, you know, in this edition, moving with vehicle,
but they don't have core either, so they can't even get rerolls now.
But the thing was that, you know, you were moving with your dreadnoughts before, and if you moved, you got the penalty for moving and shooting.
Yes,
now that's gone because they're a vehicle and they can move and shoot. So I accept that because of that reason. But the fact that they're not core, and the fact that, you know, they're still expensive, the CP, less toughness, because let's be honest, a Leviathan is a big old thing. Ironclad dreadnought.
Yeah, the toughness 8 was I love the toughness 8, and going into the meta, if they didn't nerf them that badly, having Leviathans still with 2 storm cannons would do great against Drukhari. Would do great against Drukhari. But now it's like
the best weapon.
I need to spend CP to put them in. I don't have the toughness I had. I'm still hitting on 3s. They start getting wounded. I'm suddenly hitting on 4s. Drukhari having inbuilt -1 in nearly all their vehicles. Suddenly I'm hitting on 5s again. Nothing's re-rolling. You know, that's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the gods, son.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So
now, one thing I did want to touch upon as well, which I think is better for the game overall, but has been a massive hit to things that really rely on the Devastator Doctrine, is the whole thing of the roll-off and you going first. Because if you start, most armies deploy behind total cover, so they can't be targeted in the first turn.
Deploying nowadays is like hide as much as possible on both sides.
Marines already benefit normally from going second, because for things like Oaths of the Moment, they get to score it straight away, so they can be a bit safer with that kind of stuff, and they can also survey how things are going. But if you happen to get first as an Imperial Fist, Crimson Fist player, who rely on the Devastator Doctrine, you essentially just get a turn of nothing, which means that your Super Doctrine doesn't exist.
Yes.
And that just is a shame. It's a genuine shame.
I mean, I've played with my God recently, and I've been playing more with them, and you can now hide your tanks very reliably, because obscuring is such a big thing now. So obscuring, obscuring the terrain. So you know, I've been able. My tanks usually wasn't able to hide them. Now I can hide them quite reliably. So even now going against your Crimson Fist, I'm gonna go second. I'm gonna be able to move my tanks, and they're not gonna get a penalty. Exactly. Before they used to get a penalty, so I didn't move my tanks at all. I'm even moving my Manticores and my stuff. It's like, why not? I don't get a penalty. So, you know,
that's good, and like it's all not bad. Like we still have a lot of good things. Like
for sure.
You know, aggressors are still there. Eradicators are simply amazing. Blade Guard are simply amazing. You know, there's still a lot of good things, but
I think it depends on, and this is how people are building their lists now. It depends on what you are going for your secondaries, what your missions are. If you're you're gonna get retrieve data. You know, if you're gonna go for that, you build your army around it. I've done it. I've gone for Phobos unit and the Inceptor,
you need the
Deep Strike,
you need the movement.
Because I know I'm going for that.
Exactly.
So you know what you're doing.
What I'm talking about is if I'm playing an Imperial Fist at the moment and I'm going for infiltrators and I'm not playing Crimson Fists. I'm just playing like vanilla Marines. I'm not getting anything out of it. And like let's quickly, for example, if let's take Iron Hands off and let's take Black Templars off, which are at the moment very, very, very good. And you could choose any other vanilla chapter, and you are playing against Death Guards. Okay, who do you think would win?
Death Guard.
Okay. If you're playing against the new Thousand Suns, who do you think would win?
Probably the Thousand Suns. It's only the thing is the codex is really new still, and we don't know what it does. But there are so many good little things that it has in it that I think overall it has more value.
Yeah, it should win because it's very tricksy. I've played against the Thousand Suns.
And Mortal Wounds is scary.
Yeah.
Mortal Wounds against us, where we don't have those high toughness models and storm shields and all this, which is what we're surviving. Suddenly it's like you don't have that anymore because of mortally wounding you.
Even apothecaries, the feel no pain on a 6+
is not good enough.
Unless you're Shaggy.
Unless you're Shaggy.
A 6+ is as good as a 2+.
Which a 2+ is basically a 6+. Yeah.
Anyway, but it used to be 5+, didn't it?
No, it was always 6+.
But Iron Hands used to get a 5+.
And I can carry on. Like, if you're playing Drukhari without Iron Hand, would you think who has a better chance of winning?
Without Iron Hands?
Yeah, without Drukhari. Then Adeptus Mechanicus just smashes us. As soon as we come out from hiding, we're just gone.
Let's be honest. Let's look at it critically. Everything you said, they've all got those very good builds. You can adjust those builds, and they're still very good.
Yeah.
If you're not going for a standard build of Marines to do this thing of going against Drukhari, you're gonna
exactly. But if you build a list only against Drukhari and go to an event and you don't play Drukhari, suddenly you get smashed by other armies. And I know I'm being very negative because I did want to sit down and I know I'm being negative, but I'm scared about Harlequins now coming, speed and border control. Elder now coming, speed and border control. Nids now coming, speed and border control. No, Orcs is a bit different because I think it's lacking. I think the codex is lacking a lot.
I think they are good. I just think that we need to
give them a bit more chance.
Like let's be real.
There's a lot of changes. It's a complete different change now.
The official Orc codex came out like last week.
Yes,
although we had the Beast Snagger box come out a month or two ago, whatever it was.
There's not
the
enough
official
people.
codex came out like a month ago.
So there's not enough stats. But I think the Orc codex is going to be very good, and I think people will take full advantage of it. Because they can be quick. They can be a lot of models for cheap. They're toughness 5 now. So we're talking about high toughness, hard to kill units that can move quite quickly.
Yes, exactly.
So it's laying into what you're saying about movement. I think I'll predict it now. I think the Custodes, if it is a Custodes codex coming out,
Custodes are good already.
December,
imagine with a good codex.
But they still suffer with the fact that they can't move. That's the slowness. Now, if they bring out mobility in that codex...
well, they've got the bikes, but they're very expensive at the moment. So when those bikes start falling... Anyway, anything else you want to talk about?
Without going too much into my characters, I think the aggressors are still one of my favorite units. I don't know if they're the best unit. I don't care. They're my favorite unit. Because even though they can't shoot twice, they still pump out so many shots, so many attacks. They're just fantastic. So for me, my highlights, I think, from the Vanilla Codex are still aggressors.
I've got 2 highlights from the Vanilla Codex. First one, it's going to sound awful as a Black Templars player. It's Eradicators. So everyone knows that they're ridiculous, and I still think that they are too good for their points. At 45 points a model,
they are
it's ridiculous. And fine, okay, like the heavy melter rifles make them more expensive. You can take multi-melters in the squad, but for 45 points a base model, they are just so point efficient. Like I killed Bellico with 2 units of 3 Eradicators, so I spent 270 points to kill Big Bad Bellico, who was like 380, I think he is.
One of the most difficult units to bring down at the moment.
And I didn't even struggle, with no rerolls to hit, no rerolls to wound, I just killed him. And obviously, it had to do the rolling, but it just goes to show how good they are. The second one for me are Redemptor Dreadnoughts. I feel stupid not having bought any until just recently, and I've got 2 in my list now.
They are perfectly pointed.
So
they're
good.
perfect.
They're so good.
Probably one of the best. And like we do have good things. Like our troops are really good. Intercessors are really really good.
Assault intercessors
are really really good. The problem is that we don't have any cheaper option now. So scouts are no longer troops,
which is sad.
And suddenly you see other codexes have really cheap troop choices, which can have smaller bases, and they just hide behind this ruin and win you the game. Whilst Marines, as soon as they start falling, you suddenly where's my army? And you feel it much more.
I mean, that's the reason why myself and a lot of other people have started gravitating towards company veterans to get objectives to sit on the back point, because you can take 2 company veterans with, like for example, like a chainsword and a storm shield for 48 points.
Yeah.
They sit at the back. At the end of the day, they're still 2-up, 4-ups. If they need to get shot at or if they get into combat with anything, so they're still decently durable.
Yeah.
And it's 2 models. They sit at the back objective, and then you have the rest of your army just pouring forward, doing whatever they need to do.
You've done something very smart, which I want to try and get myself. Servitors.
Yeah. Well, the Black Templar Servitors are just even better. They're 18 points.
They're better. But the vanilla ones.
And
let's go for the vanilla.
Okay, yeah.
Just servitors at the back, holding your objective, the one at the back that no one really cares about because they've got to get through your army.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It's like
little units like that is what is winning games at the moment.
And depending on obviously the mission that you're playing as well.
Yeah.
Like if you see that the mission is going to be something that's going to be really hard to score. Like for example, let's say it's a hold 2, hold 3, hold more against. I'm going to use Lewis's demons as an example because it's just it's a very good list against Marines.
Monster Mash.
He's very good at denying hold 2, hold 3, hold more from players. So in those scenarios, you can say, okay, well my 3-man unit that takes up no space on the board would be in reserves, and they'll come in to do terrorist data.
Yeah.
So they have loads of little uses like that, where if you know that you won't be able to win the points game on primary objectives, you can try and eke out those points in the secondaries. Yeah. So they're good for those things as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we still have the stratagems, right? We haven't really talked about our stratagems. We can't complain about the stratagems. We have stratagems for any occasion on the battlefield, anything that's taking place. You always have a stratagem for it. Problem is that
Marines.
They're supposed to be, and things like transhuman and stuff like that is just really, really good.
I think one of the ones that I've been using more recently is the one of shooting while doing an action.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic. You come in, do your action, still get to shoot. It's 2 CP, but
it's still good.
It's a good 2 CP, and I think this is we were talking about this as well before we came on to do this. It's what sets Primaris and Firstborn apart. Firstborn units, they are still very good.
Very good.
But they don't have stratagem support.
Yes.
And that is kind of where I think people get put off of them.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't transhuman your Vanguard.
I think they had to do that, right? Because if they left a Firstborn so good with the extra wounds now coming in, and still they Primaris wouldn't sell. So I think it's more of a company thing, and aesthetically they just look much better anyway. So, and a lot of people are using like the Primaris body, like myself with the Blood Angels, yourself with the Vanguard, Primaris body to make them bigger.
I'm doing it.
You as well.
I'm going to do it with my Vanguard, and I've actually just gotten a plan to get a Outrider and turn it into a captain on a bike.
That's what I'm doing actually.
Hey! So yeah.
And lastly, it's something that we've missed as well is the Bodyguard rule how that is making Marines survive a bit more against,
especially me.
Against some tougher units. Like for those of you who don't know what the Bodyguard rule is, basically you use company veterans, and you basically give them a storm shield, and any character within 3 inches of it can't be targeted. Doesn't matter if it is the closest. Yep. So people, what makes the game even more is that people using Iron Hands and making one of their dreadnoughts, contemptor dreadnoughts characters. And then you have these 2 company dreadnoughts, company veterans hiding behind the wall, contemptor in front to shooting down a corridor, and you can't shoot that contemptor because these 2 bodyguards are further away from it. And I think that it's got to be nerfed. I think it's something that's going to be nerfed. And again, this is something that Marines really need at the moment to compete. And when that gets nerfed, that's another step down. Yeah. So Volkites, I'm sure, are going to go up in points. So that's another step down. And when we have those Volkites coming down, we have the Bodyguard rule change.
I think the Bodyguard rule, there is a workaround for it. If the Bodyguard rule states that it can't affect vehicles, that might be the way to work around the Iron Hands thing.
Yes.
Because that way it doesn't affect any other characters.
But what I mean is, we don't really want it right now, especially because it's what's helping us, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, do we really want to be helped that way? Because only one faction is getting helped by it. Yeah. So your Crimson Fists aren't going to be helped if the stats are still good for one faction because of one faction.
I just really hope, and this is now ending the chat for today. I really hope that we don't ask for another codex, but supplements do come out soon. Because obviously the supplements are now quite old. Well, compared to other codexes, not, but When you have I think the supplement should come out after the new codex. So
Yeah,
we're going to see Black Templar supplement come out.
Yep.
He's really happy. Everybody's really happy. New models come out already confirmed, and I really hope that is what gives us the edge again. New supplements come out with new stratagems and everything, you know, freshen up a bit. So that's the only thing I'm really hoping will happen. We still, again, back to that, a lot of new codexes still to come out. So if that doesn't happen, I think we're going to lose a lot of flavor, and a lot of people are going to stop playing Marines. For those playing competitively, I'm not. There's a lot of you which play at home, chilled out games, which is what more or less we all like. But it comes to a point where if everything's going to be better, it's a bit of a shame when Marines, which have a massive, diverse collection of different chapters, aren't going to be up there with the rest. So that's it. Anything else you want to end up with?
I'm really curious to see what they end up doing with the Crimson Fists, Imperial Fists. I don't know what, I had this like wacky idea that they were going to make a Sons of Dawn supplement.
Yeah,
just literally have all the Crimson Fists, all the Imperial Fists,
that's what I thought would
them
happen.
all be interchangeable, because it's really stupid to have an Imperial Fist supplement and a Crimson Fist supplement, and then say, oh, the Crimson Fist can also use the Imperial Fist stuff.
Yeah.
Just put everything in one book.
Exactly.
And then they've got your Sons of Dawn book. And
because it's a bit...
Well, aren't you supposed to be a Sons of Dawn?
Well, we were, but then there was an FAQ that came out last edition, I'm pretty sure, where it said that we don't benefit from anything from the Imperial Fist because we've strayed too far away from their teachings and beliefs.
That's because probably they knew about the supplement coming out. Anyway, that's it for today. Comment below. Please let us know what you think about today's chat. Let us know if you are a Space Marine player, if you're feeling the same as us, if you are someone that still plays against Space Marines a lot, you've got friends that have Space Marines and still losing a lot of games and think we're talking nonsense, let us know as well. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed today's chat. Thank you, Shaggy. Thank you, Big Will, for joining me today. We will have more chats like this coming up very soon. And we also want to mention at the very end that we are going to have a live streamed tournament called Civil War, where we will be facing every single Space Marine faction against each other in a knockout event, which will be starting in the next 2 weeks. So make sure you are on our social media so you get a little hint of when that is starting off.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you back in the next one.